Sheila.
Thank you. Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. It's great to see all of you here today. The end of May, and we have a very interesting meeting that's about to begin, but I wanted to go ahead and introduce any guests in the room. We actually have a special guest returning, our area governor, Kevin. Do you want to stand up and say a couple things?
Yep, just, I'm your area governor, so I oversee your club and a couple other clubs, all here in the Great American Parkway corridor. And from time to time, I'm required to visit, but also it's always a pleasure to see what the clubs are differently doing, and you might have some good ideas that I might steal from my own club. So I'm looking forward to the meeting.
Great, thank you. Actually, it's also nice to see faces from other clubs, because if you ever go to area contests or spring conferences, like I just did this past weekend, you do see a couple familiar faces, like I saw Kevin passing me in the hallway from one session to the next. Another thing is, it was nice to have EMC here that one time when they were having their person give their, what was it, Tall Tales speech in front of our club, because I saw President Rosema from that club. She actually found me in a crowd, a huge crowd of people, and we ended up sitting together, and I was amazed that she identified me, but it's really nice to be able to meet people across this organization. So to go ahead and start, we have a very interesting topic today. Thanks, Mom, for everything you've taught me. And our Toastmaster today will be speaking to that. It's her first time emceeing our meeting. Please help me welcome up Shilpa.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters. So the woman who loves you unconditionally from the day you were born. The person who puts her kids before herself and who's always there for you. You go to her and you are worry-free because you know that all your problems she's going to take care of. That's the person you call your mom. It is very rightly said, right? God could not be everywhere, and that's when he created moms. We all love our moms and appreciate everything they do for us, and day in and day out they have been helping us. They have made us what we are. But I still get a call from her today, making sure that I've reached home on time if I'm coming out after a very late night. She makes sure that I reached home safely and everything is going perfect. So that shows that, her, even if we've grown up, her concern for us never goes down. But I'm not sure how often in our day-to-day routine, when we are so busy in our lives, do we get a chance to sit with her, express the love that we have for her, and thank her for everything that she has done. Thank her for all the love, the inspiration, and the affection she has given us to make us what we are today. So when we recently celebrated Mother's Day, and when I was thinking about the topic for today's session, I thought, what better than this topic? Why not dedicate our session to our moms? So before I move ahead, I thought I'll share some fun facts about Mother's Day. In most countries and languages, the word for mother begins with M. Approximately 122 million phone calls are made to moms on Mother's Day in the United States itself. The most common flower for Mother's Day is a carnation, and are thought to be made from the tears of Jesus' mother Mary when she wept at his feet the day he was crucified. Approximately $14 billion is spent on Mother's Day, and that explains the long lines in front of all the restaurants, I guess. So moving ahead, when I asked our general evaluator for today that how she celebrates Mother's Day, she said, Mother's Day wishing is a fairly new occurrence in our family, probably after I went to college. I still remember the very first time I wished her and her face lit up with a big bright smile. I owe a lot to her. Her humility, strength, and pure, intense affection has made me what I am today. So let's welcome Amrita Devar. She is our general evaluator.
Hi everyone. So I'm the general evaluator of the day. So I'll be evaluating generally how everyone does the session, the time, how we can improve further, and so on. So let me introduce my helpers. Our counter, Rashmi.
So I will be the counter for today, and I will be noting down all the filler words or filler sounds. Filler words like well, so, but, like, and sometimes people tend to repeat words, so I'll even note the double clutches and long pauses. Thank you.
Thank you. Second, the grammarian, Leo.
My name is Leo. I will be a grammarian today. Grammarian is going to check your usage of English, grammar-wise or like word usage. I just chose a word for the day. It's there, rubberneck. Rubberneck is an interesting word. It refers to, like, say, your neck is like rubber. You can turn it around, especially when you are looking into something with curiosity. A common situation is when there's traffic, a lot of people would, especially on the other direction, you would look over. So that's rubbernecking. Hope people who speak will use the word today. Thank you.
Thanks, Leo. And for the timer, Joe.
I'll be helping the speakers today monitor their time. I'll be recording the times for everybody. For the speakers, I'll be showing the green card at 5 minutes, the orange card at 6, and the red card at 7, and similarly for the table topics.
Thank you for that.
Thanks, Amrita. So moving on to a very interesting session, we now have our lined up speakers. So our first speaker, I asked her a question, one habit or personality trait of your mom that you really admire. She said that there is not one thing I admire and adore of my mother. I always say to myself, even if I can be half as good as my mom, that is a lot. One thing that always stands out to me is my mother's simplicity, modesty, and appreciating everything life has to offer. So let's welcome Anjana Bachu. It's a nice speech, my recipe to be optimistic.
Today, I have decided to share my vulnerability with you all. End of last year, I realized I had become pessimist. It was very difficult to be in that state. I kept wondering if it was a phase or change in my personality. I was not always that way. I was a happy-go-lucky kind of a person, enjoying life, looking forward to happy and new things coming my way. Some of you may know I lost my mother last year due to cancer. I saw how harsh and terrible life can be. I kept telling myself that things are going to be negative then on. I think that was the reason I started to think negative and everything seemed to fade out in my life. The moment I realized, I started to take right steps to correct myself and unwind this loop of being on a pessimistic path. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, today I'll be sharing with you all what I did to help myself. My recipe to become an optimist once again in my life. I started practicing 3 things and become aware and conscious of these 3 things. First, having gratitude. Second, meditation. And third, random acts of kindness. Firstly, having gratitude. I learned that to be optimistic, I have to be happy. To be happy, I have to be grateful. Brother David Rast, he's a monk. He's known for his work on interaction between spirituality and science. After reading several of his articles and listening to him, I deeply acknowledge that having gratitude is a very important thing to be happy and have a positive outlook towards life. Gratitude is something that we have to remember and reassure ourselves. What does it mean in practice? I started to make a note of 3 things that I'm grateful for every morning. It had to be 3 different things every single day. Just this habit alone made a lot of difference how my day started. This gave a self-assurance to me that there are positive things in my life and I can move on. Secondly, meditation. Meditation does good, we all know that. Someone once asked Buddha, what did you gain through meditation? Buddha replied, nothing at all. However, let me tell you what I lost. Anger, greed, sorrow and depression. This is very true. Starting few minutes a day made a big difference. Meditation is not just for relaxation. The primary purpose of this is to enable yourself to give capacity to respond beautifully, gracefully to life situations, difficulties and joy. Thirdly, random acts of kindness. A smallest or the simplest act of kindness is worth more than the grandest intention. It can change somebody's emotional state significantly. Random acts of kindness can be as simple as saying good morning to some stranger, getting a coffee for someone, holding the door open for somebody, helping an elderly to cross the road. Maybe donation, a book, clothes, shoes. Treat someone the way you want to be treated. Before I move on, I want to share with you a beautiful video with words from Brother David.
You think this is just another day in your life? It's not just another day. It's the one day that is given to you today. It's given to you. It's a gift. It's the only gift that you have right now. And the only appropriate response is gratefulness. If you do nothing else but to cultivate that response to the great gift that this unique day is, if you learn to respond as if it were the first day in your life and the very last day, then you will have spent this day very well. Begin by opening your eyes and be surprised that you have eyes you can open. That incredible array of colors that is constantly offered to us for pure enjoyment. Look at the sky. We so rarely look at the sky. We so rarely note how different it is from moment to moment with clouds coming and going. We just think of the weather. Even of the weather, we don't think of all the many nuances in weather. We just think of good weather and bad weather.
This is just a small snippet from several of his works. I realized that when we say gratitude, it's such a simple word. But when I woke up in the morning and kept reassuring myself with everything that I had learned, it was very assuring for me. So I urge you all to practice these 3 steps in your life, no matter where you stand today. I guarantee that you will be benefited. First, gratitude. Start your day with positive outlook. Meditation, even a couple of minutes, but it'll help you, give you self-control. Random acts of kindness, push the ripple outward and bring positivity everywhere.
Thanks, Anjana. It's always great to hear her and look forward to all her speeches. It's very inspiring and very nice to hear her. All right, I'll give you a minute to go over and evaluate. Next speaker, Joe's mom, stays across the country. So he said the best he can do on Mother's Day is a phone call and a gift. But he also says, my mother would give her all for us and make sacrifices. Please welcome Joe for his 7th speech. The title is Confidence, How to Avoid Being Frightened.
It was one of those weird coincidences in life. I was chosen to evaluate a Toastmaster speech. The problem is he did a really, really good job at it, so I really had to nitpick for details. And one thing I mentioned was that he had the Silicon Valley slouch. It's something I also had a problem with too. That evening, I had a voice lesson. And what happened is she actually mentioned that I should try fixing my posture because that would actually improve your voice's tone. Her suggestion was to roll your shoulders back. I actually have the problem of waving my arms. You're supposed to do it with your arms but by your side. That Friday, I actually tried to do it standing up. And I also noticed I started to overdo it. So one thing I looked up online that helped was to think that I'm being pulled up by strings. It's kind of a hard thing to visualize. Also, sometimes the rolling of the shoulders don't work, so I kind of think of sticking out my chest. One of Elizabeth's, the vocal coach's recommendations is to stand against a wall with your back towards the wall. Your head will be forward a little, and there should be a little curve to your spine. So if you have that, it's okay. Doing this reminded me of my first Toastmasters Club. We had part of the meeting called the Thought of the Day. Earlier that day, I read about the Wonder Woman pose. This is where your shoulders are square, feet on the ground, and hands on your hip. You do that for 2 minutes, and it's supposed to make you more confident. What they said, what happens is, it promotes a flow of the testosterone in your body. As an aside, I mentioned how I got reminded how it was so stupid that Superman had the secret identity of Clark Kent. Yep. And after I finished, the president of the club, his name is Gary, he's a very wonderful man, he mentioned that he used to have a mustache. And one day he decided to shave his mustache off. The next day at work, all of his office mates were saying, "Who's the new guy?" My mind was blown. This is the first time I ever heard this ever working outside of a movie. I actually get to work at a particular place. I meet this guy. He says, "Hey, Joe." Here's a new guy. I was like, "Who are you?" Later I was like, "Oh, it's Ryan." Turns out I met this guy before. When I was meeting him at the company, he was wearing a nice shirt and slacks. When I met him outside the company many times, he wore this really beat up t-shirts and jeans. Then I get to here. My introduction to this club was Layla Sisnick. And she would say hi to me in the halls, and I'm like, "Oh, that's Layla." So one day I actually went up to her and apologized. "Hey, I'm sorry that I keep missing you." And she actually revealed to me, "Oh, this happens a lot, especially when I change how I fix my hair." It still happened, and once in a while, she would have this smile on her face. So I think she almost makes a game out of it. But it's one of those things that sometimes makes the monotonous week just a little bit better. So it's all good fun. It turns out, though, Superman had a radio show in maybe around the 30s. They were looking for a voice actor. They were actually for two voices. They could not believe that one guy could be both Clark Kent and Superman. But a man by the name of Bud Collyer actually proved them wrong. He actually was successful at convincing people that one guy could pull off both voices. His trick was to take the Superman voice and take it up an octave. So I actually tried this, and it seems like my voice is around an F, so if I take my voice up an octave, it almost sounds like this. So I don't know if I sound like a different person, but this is kind of the effect. Then came the Superman movie. So you don't have to just prove that one guy can be two people behind this radio wall. You have to go in a movie. Christopher Reeve definitely delivered. And one clip comes to mind. Clark Kent and Lois Lane are going on a date. I think something happened, and Lois was kind of flustered. So she walks off screen, and Clark was actually rehearsing to himself. He takes off his glasses and says, "Lois, there is something I need to tell you." She starts coming in, puts on his glasses real quick. I was really nervous. Well, darn it, I was going to show you the time of your life. Clark Kent slouched, stuttered, and said a lot of old-timey cuss words. As Superman, he stood tall. He talked clearly, and he was very direct in how he spoke. It was a very incredible job. One thing I did notice, though, his voice's pitch didn't change too much. But the last part of this, I'll leave you with an illustration. They say that it's harder to capture the essence of how Superman and Clark Kent both can exist with one person on a comic book versus a movie. Or I suppose, to give an artist a challenge, sometimes they rise to the occasion. So, that's all I have. So,
Thank you, Joe. That was a great speech. I think we all learned some great tips from this one. So, another minute to evaluate Joe's speech. very fun section of our meeting today. We go over to our table topics. So our table topic master shared a very fun story from his childhood. He said, when my teacher punished me because other children were copying from me during a test, and he thought that I copied, my mother went to the principal and asked him to give him a test immediately and test and see how well I will do. He disagreed and told my mom that he's doing me a favor and letting me stay in his school at all. So my mother with confidence said to him, I don't want my child to be in your school anymore, and immediately went to the principal of the best school in my city and asked that I will be immediately examined if I'm fit for school. Her confidence in me and fighting for me is something I will remember all my life. And she was right. That is a school that I finished my high school with very good memories. Please welcome our table topics master, Yaran Choma.
Thank you, Shilpa. So this is the extemporaneous portion of the meeting. It means you don't know how to prepare, and you have to speak for, if you can, 1 to 2 minutes on the subject that I give you, or any subject else if you want to change it. So, so the first question is related to Mother's Day. What was the best time or times that you had with your mom? And well, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I know the name.
Ashwini? Ashwini?
Ashwini?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. Mother. Any time spent with my mother has been always great. The best memory that I have is spending time with my mother and grandmother together during my summer vacation. I would get fed every day and spend a lot of time with my mother, making a lot of craft items and learning how to cook. I think that's been the best time I've ever spent, and I always enjoy spending time with her. The last time she visited us here in summer, I really enjoyed her meals, her food. I think that's the best thing I've ever loved about her. Thank you.
So the next question, just lighter maybe, but don't take it too seriously. If your mother have only one child, would it be better? Would you be better to have a boy or a girl? And Joe, I know you have a role, but can I use it? Okay.
So the question is, if my mother had only one child, would it be better if it had been a boy or a girl?
Or your wife or whatever, see it as the way you want to.
Well, my mother had 4 boys. So that's a tough question, right? In a self-interest, I'm going to say a boy, preferably her 3rd one, would have been the best one to have had. But I know she always wanted a girl, which is how she got 4 boys. And I narrowly missed being named Josephine, I'm told. Now, I haven't seen my mother in 20 years, so I don't remember too much about her, but I think she would have been better with boys than with girls. She wasn't a girly girl. She was tough. She did a lot of macho type activities. So I think all in all, a boy's the better choice for her. Plus, everybody knows that a boy's best friend is his mother.
Thank you, Joe. So today is my wife's birthday. So what best birthday celebration that you ever had, either to your mom or to yourself or to someone you love?
birthday gift for my mother? I think, you know, material things would never make up. My mother is very simple. She doesn't care for, you know, gifts and so on. But I think right now, if I were to ask her, she would say my 2 kids. They are the only grandkids they have right now, and they're happy to see them on a daily basis, and they're happy spending time. And even the day we give them a day off and the weekend and said, hey, it's your day off, you do your own thing, we do our own thing, they still manage to call. They still manage to find us, and they still manage to come over and make sure we're fed and see how the kids are doing and so on. So I think without my kids, my parents would be very lonely, because that's what keeps them interesting.
Thank you, Julie. So we are okay with time?
Yeah.
So, so today, not related. Some are related because moms are always the most compassionate, but also they are sometimes calculated. So let's see what you think about the other issues. Los Angeles today increased the minimum salary to $15. Why is it good, to your opinion? Who want to answer? Rich.
Couldn't ask me the mother question. I'm a big believer in people having a living wage, being able to actually live within their means if they work hard and be able to survive. It's very hard in the Silicon Valley to be able to do that. My daughter moved down to Santa Barbara because she knew she wouldn't be able to get an apartment, and she lived in Santa Barbara when she went to school, so it was very easy for her to sort of drop back in there. But when I sit there and I see how Congress can't do anything to get people going to increase their wage, there are going to be people who always need a hand, who will work hard and do whatever is necessary, but still can't get by. And as long as we set the bar very low on how much they get paid, that's how much they will get paid. The fact that there are people who can be out in the world today, can work 2 jobs, and still barely get by, to me, is a crime. So I'm very happy that Los Angeles did this. It will be very interesting to see how the economy in LA does, because I know a lot of the naysayers on the increase of the minimum wage say that it will hurt the economy. I don't believe that. I believe that by people having more money to spend, they will invest more in their the economy of where they live, and therefore increase the economy as a whole. Anyway, that's my opinion.
Thank you. So now more difficult one. Let's see. The question is like this. Let's say San Francisco is envy in Los Angeles, and they decided to raise their minimum salary to $50. Why is it better? Kavita? Yeah, so San Francisco decided this $15 is not enough. They decided to raise the minimum wage to $50 an hour. So why is it better?
First of all, maybe I should leave this job and work there. Honestly, so if that happens, the comparison between within the state of California, that will go down the drain. I know people in Bay Area are richer, or I would say their cost of living is high, so is their standard of living is higher than some folks in LA. But if by doing this, 50 at San Francisco, and whereas 15 in Los Angeles, you're creating this people coming already it's a crowded city, and you don't want to make it more crowded, and more than what we have now. So that's, I would say that's the only 2 cents I can provide, and not more than that. Thank you.
Thank you. No, okay. So please, let's welcome Shilpa again. Oh, and second, I forgot to say, please vote for each of the best speech to your opinion.